Hey guys, this was a real fun interview with Brian McDonald from Rivalry Trophy, and we held it on site at Fraser's Pub in Ann Arbor. So I want to thank Ron and Petra from Fraser's for setting that up. I need to thank Mason from Pack Mode Media and Marketing in Ann Arbor for doing the filming and production. And without further ado, here's part one of my interview with Brian McDonald from Rivalry Trophy. This is Greg Dooley, and we are talking from Fraser's Pub, the iconic, the historic Fraser's Pub in Ann Arbor. And I am very excited today because I have with me none other than Brian McDonald, one of the owners of Rivalry Trophy. Brian, how are you doing?
Good, Greg.
Thanks for being here,
Thanks
man.
for having me.
This is awesome. So I've heard a little bit about your backstory, and of course I've done all this research in the jug, and we've talked before about this, but I wanted to tell your story, or have you tell your story. So tell folks what really got you into this this whole business.
Sure. Well, it all started with this guy, and it would go back to 2008 when Michigan State, my business partner, friend at the time, when Michigan State beat Michigan in Ann Arbor for the first time in forever, he called me up and said it'd be great to have a replica Paul Bunyan Trophy, because I think for the longest time no one even knew what the Paul Bunyan Trophy was. It didn't seem to kind of come into focus until right around that time, and maybe it was the Mark D'Antonio, Mike Hart stuff. I don't know what it was that kind of got it riled up again. But he said, I'd love to have a Paul Bunyan Trophy. I'm like, okay, buy one. And he goes, well, nobody makes them. So it was really just that idea, the idea of he's got a sweet basement. It was featured on the Big Ten collectible show. So he wanted something down there to represent the fact that Michigan State had finally beaten Michigan. And so we just decided to, okay, how are we going to make it ourselves? And so we looked domestically, and what are we going to make it out of? How are we going to get this started? We really had no licensing, no idea where we were going to go with this. It just was kind of like, well, we'd want one for ourselves. So how are we going to go about doing it? Eventually, it led us to overseas from a price perspective.
Sure.
And we had a couple companies, we just sent pictures. I mean, these are pictures we just got from the internet and I went to the Doherty building, got some pictures there, and it's really just emailing pictures to this company and saying, can you do this? This is the size we're thinking. And about 4 months later, 2 packages came to his house. And at that time, we're like, well, these could be packages full of rocks. We don't even know if the trophies are in there. So he brings them, and I'm living in Ann Arbor at the time. He brings them out, and he says, let's open them together. So we crack a couple beers, and we're just kind of sitting there, like Raiders of the Lost Ark type scene, just what's going to come out of this box. And we had this version, and we had one that the coloration was a little off, but I mean, they looked fantastic. And we were just, we get them out, and we're looking at the pictures of the actual one. I'm like, oh my God, we got it. I mean, all the way down to, the globe, everything. I mean, they completely nailed it. So at that point, it's like, all right, we've got something. We think more people would like to buy this. And then it just kind of took off from there.
So many questions.
Yeah.
But first of all, so one of the things on Invictors is, for years, people, and I've supported this, people have sent me, show me your replica jug, and this is before it was all painted. This is like the original, what it looked like. But people would make these things. So that is obviously a natural thing. Like, I totally understand your passion and why you'd want to make this.
Yeah.
But certainly you pitched this idea, or you're at Thanksgiving dinner with family and your aunt from Kansas is in town. And hey, Brian, tell them about your idea about making the trophies. You must have got cross-eyed from some people about, what are you talking about?
Yeah, it was either, oh my God, what an awesome idea. I can't believe no one's done that before.
Right.
Because you think about it, you go to a bookstore, you can get Michigan gnomes. Everything you could possibly get, you would think. And so it's like, my buddies were like, that's awesome. How has nobody ever done that? And everyone else was like, what? I don't understand what this is. So there was a lot of educating people as to what these things were.
Right.
I think the casual fan has no clue, that Minnesota and Iowa trade a pig back and forth. And so it was those relatives that just didn't quite understand where we were going with this.
Right, you're crazy.
And who in the world would buy this?
Well, it's the same people that walk into my house and walk by my Michigan shrine. Every Michigan fan has a Michigan shrine.
Sure.
And see all my stuff and go, that's cute. He's kind of crazy. I guess his wife lets him, tolerates him. It's that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Right?
And I mean, these aren't. I mean, obviously, to a Michigan State fan, an Iowa, Minnesota, whatever. I mean, these things really matter, and they put them in places of prominence. Wives, on the other hand, it's they often go in the basement or the tailgate table or whatever it may be.
Sure.
So,
Now, I'm sure some women love these things, but you brought up a very interesting point, I thought, about Paul Bunyan.
yeah.
And that people didn't know about it. And certainly in the Bo era and for a while, D'Antonio changed it, but Michigan had the upper hand. And there is a history behind Michigan not bringing the trophy out. Sure. So it wasn't actually shown in public. It was a locker room trophy, right? Now that all changed with Harbaugh. We don't need to get into all that.
No.
But it was on the field. I remember. And it really, in my memory, was the first time that Paul was really in my face.
Yeah, there's a picture of Hoyer walking off the field with it, and that seemed to be the beginning of it. But the story about that is, okay, so we've got this, and we're like, all right, we got to be legit. We can't be selling these, out of the trunk of our car. So we contact Michigan State, and their licensing guy likes them. But his concern at the time was, all right, who owns the rights to this? He goes, you got to research this.
It's a great question.
He goes, because it was a new thing, and it's like, well, a company made this.
So he didn't have a quick answer.
No, he didn't. So he pretty much sent me to go find evidence that we could do this. So I went to the Bentley Library at U of M, where Menon Williams, the governor at the time, whose idea was to create the trophy, all of his papers were filed. So I'm like some sleuth going to the library.
I hope people heard that. So the U of M Bentley Library was part of your path for research here. And of course, shout out to my friend Greg Kinney and Brian Williams down there. But anyway, that was awesome. Go ahead.
Well, so I go there.
And I'm first hearing this for the first time.
And his idea was, he was a Michigan guy trying to welcome Michigan State to the Big Ten. So the thought was, hey, we'll present a trophy.
The governor.
It's
the governor's paper.
Yes, the game was going to be in East Lansing.
Yeah.
And of course, and if you look at and all these articles are just fantastic. I found articles where, at the time, newspaper columnists are saying it's a political stunt. He's just doing it to be on TV, all these things. And he's just like, I just want to give him a trophy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there in Bentley, there was the bill that he had paid to the company in Chicago to get it made. All of these correspondences going back and forth to other people in his administration about why we should do it, not do it.
Right.
People had written letters offering to pay for the trophy, because the big thing is about $1,300 at the time. So, I mean, there's just this crazy, great backstory to this.
It doesn't surprise me that all that's at the Bentley at all.
So, I take all this back to Terry Livermore, who was the licensing guy at Michigan State at the time. I said, listen, this company's out of business. I mean, they went out of business 30 years ago. There's no real trace of who owns the rights to this. I mean, as the schools, it's yours. He goes, well, let me talk to Michigan. Talk to Michigan. Okay, let's go with it. And so at that point, we started with that. Sales went well, and then he got all the licensing guys at the Big Ten together, and he's like, hey, this thing is working. These things look fantastic. These guys want to do Floyd, they want to do the axe, they want to do the bucket, they want to do the jug. What do you guys think? So a license was created specifically for us, a Big Ten specific license, which is really rare, because most of them are school or kind of nationwide, and there's a lot more hoops to jump through. They really made it for two guys.
They gave you a special license for this special purpose.
Exactly.
So, in simple terms, you sell a Little Brown Jug.
Yes.
Obviously, every trophy has two schools involved in it.
Yeah.
For every whatever it is, licensing, you owe some licensing revenue back to the Big Ten for every one you sell. Do they give that to all of the Big Ten, or do they give it to the two schools?
Half and half.
Half and half.
So if we're talking, a certain percent, it's split in half. So we have to, every quarter, submit, this is how many we've sold, whether it be the little guys here or the full size, and do the math. Michigan gets this percent, or this half. Michigan State gets the other half, and it's done.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, the only one we've branched out with, and I don't have it with me, is the Cyhawk. Iowa State, we've got a special license with Iowa State, as they're not a Big Ten school. Yeah. And that's kind of been our springboard to hopefully moving on to outside the Big Ten.
Right, so you chose the name Rivalry Trophy. Was it originally like, maybe we'll go bigger than the Big Ten with this, or who knows? But you wanted to leave the door open.
No, leave the door open. And we've actually got some templates of the boot. Arkansas LSU played for a boot. We've got some Stanford axes, which we're working on right now, that license. But it all involves, the licensing process is quite a bear.
Okay, wow.
And so we're looking at all of those things, and there's a lot of factors involved. Shipping, just our warehouses in Redford. So, how do we make this work? But we're looking at branching out, definitely.
Cool. So like a lot of people in this community, bloggers, writers, side hustles, this is a passion project for you. It's turned into a business. But you're still a teacher, right? Your full-time gig is teaching.
I teach middle school English. My business partner is a dentist downriver.
That's great.
So, My summers are pretty much this takes over in the fall. Christmas is crazy. Anytime between Thanksgiving up till December 23rd is insane. I very rarely go out. I'm in my basement a lot. I'm over at the warehouse. But it's really been a labor of love is the best way to describe it.
So obviously for people like me, we love this stuff, and I want to talk about some of these. But we had some questions on Twitter. Everyone loves to joke about some of the trophies. We got the $5 bit of broken chair trophy that's I'm sure is like a Twitter creation.
Yes.
We got the land grant trophy, which is like a joke of how weird and ugly it is.
It is.
So are you going to go full in on these things? You have to wait. You have to work it out. What's the story?
Well,
because part of me wants every single one
and so do we.
On a tree.
So do we. Yes. And the $5 bits of broken chair is the one we're asked about most often. That is Nebraska and Minnesota.
Yes.
And weekly we get questions about it. We've asked, and because it was almost, I think it was a faux Pelini type deal on Twitter.
Yeah, faux Pelini and Goldie, the mascot.
And both schools were, again, it comes down to who owns the rights, and both schools politely passed. And so we've asked, and we ask every so often. It's not, but it's not one of those things where we're just going to keep asking over and over and annoying. The land grant we asked as well, and we just got the impression that Penn State and Michigan State wanted to move on. I think it's still. I don't think it goes back and forth. It certainly doesn't. It's not exchanged like it used to be, but they just likewise politely declined. So
it's crazy.
Unless the schools say yes, we can't do it, and we'd love to do them all.
Of course.
and that's. But we have to ask, and we have to, and there's certain, as a licensee, you've got to follow certain procedures because a Big Ten license, anytime you're putting the block M on anything, you've got to respect that, and you've got to make sure you're doing it in the right way.
That's right. And so you mentioned the jug. Really, the trophy. There are old trophies and this kind of thing, but this is really the rivalry trophy that started it because it was sustained. 1903, Tommy Roberts buys a jug. Kind of amazing now that Michigan's getting revenue back for this 30-cent jug that was bought back then. It blows my mind, right? But one thing that you did was you took care in the detail with the shape of the jug. In fact, now I'll be honest, but Michigan fans have a view of kind of this Fort Schembeckler view of access to the program. And I'll tell you a lot of it's true. And I know a lot of people there. And there's reasons for that. But they were actually, first of all, they were great to me. They let me in to do my research. They let you in. Brady Hoke and John Falk let you in Schembeckler Hall to check out the jug, to measure, do all that kind of stuff, right?
They were fantastic. Yeah, it really was fascinating to go downstairs there. They took it out of the box, and so I've got my first generation iPod, and I'm iPad, and I'm taking these pictures of it, and I'm stunned that I'm there. We're just chit chat. I'm taking these pictures. I had known the dimensions just from, I think from your site actually, was where I got all the dimensions broken down, but we just wanted to get the detail. And I remember when we had it made, and you're looking at one of the first things that we really focused on was the 1926.
Sure.
Where you got the kids played twice.
Absolutely.
And I remember when we were having this made, our manufacturer is like,
"This is one of the first things I look for, by the way. It's like, see how you did it.
It's like, it's got to be a mistake. It's got to be a mistake. Why do you have two here?" And it was but like you said, we knew who our audience was going to be. It was going to be diehards. And I think that's part of growing our audience is educating people as to a spouse buying this for a husband. This is why he wants this. And so a lot of our site is a little bit of a little background on the trophy and that type of stuff.
Absolutely. So my point is if a business jumped in just from a business perspective and made these things, they probably would have gone cartoonish and it would have been stupid. And you came from it as a passionate fan and understood. And that's why you made this thing with this incredible amount of detail. So the jug, is it expensive to make the jug because of all the scores? Is that a detail that drives up your margin? Or drives down your margin?
Yeah, it's a more expensive trophy than any other one. And it's one of those things where to get it right, that's fine. Whatever it takes to get it right. That was kind of our mindset was we weren't going to do it cartoonish like you said. We were going to, and any mistake had to be caught before production, obviously.
You would have got drilled.
And it would have been done. And that's, diehard fans look, they know what this looks like. They know the history. They've been to your site. So, I mean, they understand that. So getting it right. And so anytime a jug goes out, some of these other ones, they're fantastic. I don't have to open the box. Anytime a jug goes out, we open the box, we inspect it. So someone orders a jug, they're going to see it's going to be a little disheveled, only because we've looked at it to make sure that it's good to go.
Love it, love it. So let's get in part 2. Let's get into a little more detail and a little more backstory about you and some of the other trophies.
Awesome.
And let's talk a little bit about fandom, because I have a feeling you've learned something maybe that a lot of us haven't gleaned about your travels and your dealings with the athletic departments and their fans, and I'd love to hear about it.
Awesome.
So we'll be back in part 2 with Brian McDonald.